Folks, welcome inside the Power Talk studios here in Tucson, Arizona, the OP. Joined today by a dear friend of the program and a cosmic healer in so many ways, a sound healer, dynamic multi-instrumentalist. He's got a new album out, Speak of Love, Farmer Dave Scher. Welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Well, hello, everybody.
Good vibes all around, man. Is there a way for you to talk about the Henry Miller Library concert, Los Hermanos Cosmicos? Like, it seemed like it was a sanctified experience for you guys just to be able to play together in front of people. But I'd like to hear from you. What was impactful for those that weren't able to attend?
Well, if you know about the project, Hermanos Cosmico features Chris Robinson and my colleagues from Beechwood Sparks and beyond, Brent Rademacher and Benji Alvin Piranhas Knight,
Avatar.
Alex Koford on the drums, Camilla Misafle on vocals, and the incredible Barry Sless.
Dude, Barry Sless, dude, out of control.
Ripper and sweet dude. So that's a cool band. I've been friends with Chris, CR for a long time, but we've jammed here and there, but this is the first time, because all the touring and everything is slowed down, we were able to have a really good visit. Benji and I went up to NorCal and went up to some really special land on up in Mendocino with Chris and his lady and a couple people, and the project got started because we sat on this porch in this incredible land playing music. So I think Chris got a light bulb, let's do that. Britt, our magic man in residence, hooked it up for the Henry Miller. Playing a show is always great, but you have to remember we'd all been in quarantine and nobody had been playing at all. So not only did we get out of our little boxes, but we got to be in Big Sur, play 2 nights at the Miller, and spend a lot of quality time with our friends. And the people who were there, everyone was stoked. It was good. And it seems like it got recorded and filmed well, so I think everyone will get a chance to check out those shows and that project if you haven't heard or seen it yet.
You know, so there was an antecedent. It was Mendocino. That's where the catalyst was.
Mendocino, just a little bit.
Doug Sam.
Yeah,
That's
so
one of CR's favorites. No, I mean, but so you guys just went up there kind of just to hang and jam, and then all of a sudden it was like, because I couldn't believe the configuration of the band. It was like a dream band for me.
Yeah, I think that was, I do think it had a little seed, a little antecedent.
Antecedent. You know, I want you to talk, you just came back from Santa Fe.
Yeah.
How did you heal?
Well, there's a woman there who I had reached out to because I've been doing research on how to scientifically work with tone and frequency to bring about specific healing and transformation, corresponding to different healing modalities from throughout time, and also how sound and frequencies align with the activities of the cosmos. But specifically, there have been scientists, and this woman in particular, who have been putting in decades of research with more of a science background, machines and certain frequencies, certain light therapies. And so I reached out originally asking some questions about how we might make some music that actually contains scientific nutrition as well as the intent. And it ended up being, well, Dave, come spend a few days and try it out. And of course at the time I was like, oh, this is great, I'll be out there in a few weeks. But just then with the California fires, the air was bad, stress levels got high. I was just like, oh man, I need healing. I'm not going there for research. I need help, man. I just can't take it. So I made a run for it with Alan the Dragon, who has gone to bed.
No, he's dude. He's exhausted after that first Instagram live. So you jettisoned out earlier than you thought.
No, it wasn't that I left earlier. It was that I originally was going just to study with her, but I ended up feeling like I really could benefit from some healing, and it was really powerful, man. I'm based on the science. She's in the private sector now because of COVID. Her center has closed, so she's a private citizen. But that technology and the potential of us to work intentionally with frequencies and vibrations is a great marriage to what a lot of us already get from music. We already know where the goods are. That's why we're music freaks and love all the different bands and love the effect of music. So the science is very compelling, and also some of the things that we experience in music is a little more mystical and a little shamanic. So bringing that science in helps it be like, it's not just out there. It's as basic as any physical and tangible, quantifiable reality.
Right, it's not some woo-woo thing. There's quantifiable data. I mean, especially music with an audience. That anytime you have molecular, the physics of that is incredible.
So just imagine in a few years, you're tuned into smooth jazz. This next song is called Relax Your Pancreas. And the tone is in there. There's a tone.
Smooth jazz.
There's a tone for your pancreas, people. And, there's all these frequencies and vibrations. It's ancient science and it seems futuristic, but you might also say, looking at the news or out your window, wherever you're living, you can't really deny that there might be a little bit of a need to sort of study into raising vibrations, expanding consciousness, and being inclusive. It doesn't really help to be right anymore. What's the point of that?
That's brilliant. I want you to talk about this because you have people in your family. We all have people in our families. They look at these. I mean, there's a lot going on in my head, but these hurricanes and fires and the current tempest going on at the political level, and some people who have been raised in dogmatic, rigid thinking would say this is the end of time. This is what the Bible says. Now you look at it and say, no, we need to heal and raise vibrations. What is your message to those people who, I don't want to say are rooting for the apocalypse, but believe that this is part of Scripture?
Well, I would, you notice I'm slowing down a little bit. This is a heavy topic. And
it's important, though.
Yeah, but I would say that because you're listening to me, I wouldn't claim to be the expert of all experts, but I've studied comparative religion. I've studied...
At Loyola?
Yes, I did.
Okay, big time, yeah.
I studied healing sound, and also having close members of my family who I care about, who are they support the Trump administration, and we've remained as close and loving as we could. And I've been through everything, trying arguments or debates or sharing opinions.
Right.
And I just came to the conclusion that if you study in Hindu and Vedic astrology, the end of the Kali Yuga, that this is marked. If you end and study Mayan cosmology, there's a marking point around the year 2012.
That's right.
And if you do study the Bible and Revelations and these things, if these things do line up, I don't think that means you should roll over and let the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man stomp the city with Godzilla.
Absolutely.
I would call it an invitation and an opportunity to step into our true magic and our true power.
Some people would say the Kali Yuga that we're entering into is one of deviousness and greed. This is what I'm worried about.
Other people would say these are coming up as an opportunity to be cleared at this time.
Absolutely. And
It's so obvious that,
Yeah.
Here's the thing, man.
But then, Dave, let me just say, it is obvious to people that are parasympathetic, that are tapped into the mystical side of the multidimensional self, but the facts don't seem to matter to people right now, and that's what's petrifying. It's not obvious.
No.
They don't want to see it.
Well, here's the thing, man. I think that we're at a tipping point, and there's a few things I want to try to say, and
Yes.
they're all fighting like, me. So I'm just going to kind of we can just talk. But if you're listening and you're curious of my opinion, I always pray about this stuff, and I always try to be in alignment with the best interests of the earth and whatever I could do to be around. And just what I notice from that perspective, because I practice that, is that there's a certain amount of mathematics to where we are a species, we're instantly aware of each other across the planet, but, and here's the but, there's an invitation, And let's say that you're a very groovy people and you're going to be with your friends, listen to the best music you've ever heard, get high, but you're spectating. You're saying, man, that's all crazy. But you got to realize we are crazy too. We're not just the eyes of the world, man. We're the feet, the lips, the heart, the ears, the brain. And we have to do more than point at someone else as why this is all happening.
Absolutely.
So when you're stepping into another role, it's almost like, I like the Leonard Cohen's last album, You Wanted It Darker. I kind of think, listen, what is it going to take for you to claim your divine birthright as a free and vibrational being who is capable of changing the world? How much are you going to have to see before you're finally willing to realize that humanity is not out there? We're it. Every single person is together on this, and this is our time. That's kind of what's up from my perspective.
Incredibly well put. When you've been actually incredibly productive during this time. You got a couple of more gigs coming up with Los Hermanos Cosmicos at Pappy's, but I really want you to talk to the cats about, I mean, you're pretty self-sufficient. Alan is your compadre, but sometimes, I mean, I hear people, a lot going through my head too right now, but the thing is, some people would talk about, for instance, the way people I want you to talk, and this is just coming from your own point of view. How should regular people, like, I applaud you for doing the science-based music, or merging the science with the mystical with the healer in Santa Fe. But how would you talk to regular people coming out of COVID with independent music venues in the lurch, with already it was a dog-eat-dog industry? Are musicians viable professionals? And if so, why?
I think the value of musicians is going to be more understood now than ever.
Why?
Because, my friend, right before I got pulled up here today, my friend Chad Marshall sent a song, and what does it say? You can do magic. You can have anything that you desire. Magic, you're the one who can put out the fire, not somebody else. I do think that there's got to be a little bit of a shuffling. Musicians on pedestals fall over. And people who have posters of everyone on their wall maybe have to realize they should be on the wall too.
Right.
I think there needs to be a reallocation of our belief in ourselves and each other to allow music to be a little more communal and egalitarian. There's always going to be incredible talents. There's going to be bands who we can follow with our very hearts for life. But I do believe the earth is crying out for us to believe in ourselves and each other, one and all. And that might be why music seems to have been a little stalled, is because while these difficulties present themselves, music is just like what the birds use. It's what the whales use. When the humpbacks all get together for the year, whoever comes and goes and has the grooviest song, that's the song they like. It's sort of like it's gonna be, I think the role of music and the role of medicine is going to change. And I just want to say a quick shout out, Jake. I don't know if anyone's told you this.
No, I'm sure
but
not.
I spend a lot of time with all of my friends who make records. And one thing I think that we've all noticed pretty recently, we didn't know how many interviews you had done with all these characters who are our heroes. And I just want to say, if some of those guys who are a little older are listening or watching, just thank you so much, because not only have you shown us music that a lot of us still think is untouchable,
Sure,
but we've learned from a lot of the mistakes that you guys and ladies have had to make. The way you've had to suffer, the prejudices, the addictions. We're not silently learning about your music. Like, you've affected us. And so now if it's our turn with the football too, we're coming up and getting more confident and starting to make our own records and realizing like we don't have to say, oh, we'll never make a jazz record like that. You know, and all these people we love and Charles Lloyd and the spiritual sound, like we're going to do our best to be here and show you that we've learned and that maybe now some of those addictions aren't going to claim us. Maybe now we're not going to tolerate that injustice or look the other way when people are oppressed. We're trying to make a better world. And I think that the role of musicians as more of a healer, more of a community engagement is going to blossom in a better way. Although I do think the 60s set a pretty high watermark for my taste. But I think that we're getting less scared of our own shadow. This generation, we're going to honor ourselves and all of these people. And thank you for capturing those stories.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, Farmer, you just mentioned all your compadres within the creation of music. And when I talked to some of the older sages recently, the tragedy is nobody outside of the creatives are standing up for the musicians. And I have made it a decree that as long as my show continues, for as long as this lasts, I will never allow the creative arts to die.
You should flip the cam and say that, because I that was a very cool thing.
Well,
man.
no, but I mean, you know what it is? Like, I'm not a theory-based guy, so when I can talk to Steve Gadd about overcoming these things, or Bobby Womack getting kicked out of his house by his dad and his 5 brothers because they were playing the blues. I mean, you recognize that everything in life is hard, but it's really how you approach it and how buoyant you can be to rise above it. Can you talk to the audience about some sleeper, not the environmental sound series, but what are some of the ambient and or natural effect records that are niche for you, that you love, that you can hit people to?
Okay, I like that question. I wasn't prepared, so I'm just going to throw a few
it's a
out.
curveball, yeah.
But yeah, if you like those kind of records, I feel like, man, I mean...
I sent you that one with the womb, you know, the baby's womb, yeah. You know, I mean, the heartbeat, but I mean...
I always had those Elements records, Soundscapes records, the None Such records.
Oh, Silver Apples of the Moon?
I used that stuff. A lot of my albums have that in it all the time. I always put Elements in there. But also musicians like Bernie Krause. I think he made a record called Beaver and Krause.
Dude, I'll send you that interview. A genius, that guy, dude.
He wrote a book called Great Animal Orchestra, and I went and heard him speak, and the book was showing how a Beethoven symphony spectrographically corresponds with the way animals share space in a meadow at night, because each call doesn't want to cover up another call. Not to be rude, but they need to be heard to get a mate to sing their song. So cooperative natural systems evident in Beethoven, who we consider one of our greatest intuitive and brilliant minds.
Wow. So
Bernie Krause, Beaver and Krause is great.
Paul Beaver, legendary cat too, yeah.
And see, I don't know about natural elements, but some of my I'm a secret Tomita head. I love Tomita.
Dude.
He's so badass.
Dude, Tomita's great.
Also, I'm here to say his name again, but Charles Lloyd, he made records where he's in Big Sur with his flute and you hear Partington Ridge, and like that's a huge influence.
Lloyd is drunk with sound. Are you drunk with sound?
Yeah, but...
Do you feel do you feel that I think it's hard for people who have a kind of a linear way of looking at life not really... Charles Lloyd, when we talked, he's like, Jake, I am eternally in search for these notes that I'm searching for. It'll be an eternal search till the end of life. He goes, I am drunk with sound.
Yeah, I think that...
what does that feel like?
I think that, I feel a little shy to say it, but I've made my life that way, and I've made a lot of choices that have been hard on my life to be a little closer to what I understand,
mm-hmm.
and I've done that. I have to say one other reference, if you haven't, is Burning Spear's moment in the movie Rockers, Jah No Dead. If you haven't seen that little segment, that he's singing to the film's character. He's singing sitting next to a stream, And like that to me is one of the best natural vocal moments ever. So I don't know if the Rockers soundtrack has that, but Burning Spear, John O'Dead to me is that's a 10 out of 10 environmental thing too. And really, man, it's like we're all where we're at.
Well, I mean, what I'm getting at is like, do you feel like your skin's starting to swell with edema if you can't get it out of your system because you're so filled with sound? You're drunk with it. It's a water sound. It's water.
I've had depression, not knowing if I would ever be understood. But then even the other day, I wasn't feeling well, and then I went and sat out by this pond where there was birds in this pond, and instantly I was like, oh my God, this is like heaven. Like, I'm pretty easy to please.
Yeah, well, that's the key to us is that it doesn't take a lot for us to enjoy ourselves.
Me and my friends were joking that you know how a band has a rider, which means what you put backstage. We were like, we want a river on our rider. We're only gonna play somewhere where there's a river. And then
it's true, man.
My friend said he went. My friend Michael, my bandmate in Californiosos, he just told me that he went to get his book signed by Gary Snyder, and that he gave advice to a young woman: know your creeks, like know all the creeks around you. And
Snyder's still with us?
Well, this might have been an old story. I don't know. I think he's alive, man.
I need to get to Bolinas. Tell me, I was blown away. I was under the impression, somebody told me that the venerable avatar Ben Knight was a surfing buddy of Neely's up in Ventura and wound up in the milieu of all these beautiful cats. But you're telling me, no, he was why don't you tell the story?
Benji, should I set him straight?
Well, well, also, that was you and him on the elevator too, right? That epic YouTube clip?
If you look up Farmer Dave in an elevator, Benji and I did a 5-hour installation at the LA County Museum of Art where we made this really intense music if you got in the elevator and it went up and down. It was like a special big elevator. But really, I'm going to like blow the top off it.
Yeah, do it.
Sorry, Benji, but he's the secret weapon of the whole thing. Ask anybody.
You said that Darren came. It was the road to Damascus with Darren the other day. We got to give props to Benji.
Well, that's what Brent actually said.
Oh, Brent said, not Darren. Okay.
Darren loves Benji too, but that was Brent. He texted me the other day. He's like, man, Benji. And I'm like, I know.
So explain, blow the roof off. Just riff it down, because this is history.
When Chris Gunst and I started going to Loyola, got involved in the radio station that led to us learning and becoming in our bands, Benji was a year older and he was already the music director. And he was the coolest dude. I still know his songs from those days by heart. In fact, our new band, the newest incarnation of the band, we're playing one of his songs from back then that I said, dude, it's like the best song ever. But the point being, Benji always was making cool music. He was turning us on to all the heaviest things. And Beachwood Sparks took off. He would join us and play music.
Yes.
And then he was in the Tide as a founding member. So Benji's been woven into the whole thing.
Did you look up to him as a musician?
He was my hero for everything.
Because he was just pounding. I mean,
he still is.
Yeah,
he still is. You can ask around. Benji's the shit. Are you allowed to say that on the show?
Yeah, there's no FCC regs here.
Benji's the beep.
Farmer, we chronicled it in Instagram feed, but Speak of Love, so many times I hear my friends, accomplished artists, amazing people can tap into the primordial gut, and they still say to me, my next album, I'm going to really be me. It's really going to be me. Okay? Do you feel like you reached the farm on this one, on Speak of Love?
I do. It's a specific thing. Like certain records by people I admire, like Johnny Cash or Marvin Gaye. Sometimes you make a record that speaks to certain issues or certain times. I think that in a human's life, or even in one day of our lives, there's everything. There's time for some Olivia Newton-John, Let's Get Physical. There's times to cry. There's some
Love Shack,
Dexy's Midnight Runners. Like, you've got it all. But Speak of Love for me was a specific addressing of things I learned on medicine in the jungle, and some promises I made to myself and to the earth to be present, and in assistance for the species and the planet. If that sounds high and mighty, I'm sorry, but that's where I'm at. You know, that's how I look at the world now. It changed my life.
It's been a long, traveling, winding Silk Road.
That was 6 years ago that I went to
Exactly.
Peru, yeah.
Yeah. Before I let you go, it's so interesting. In February, after a Grateful Shred gig at Fernwood, I went down. I was invited down to the campsite. Wound up hanging out down there at the fire with the guys, and they were tired. They had just played 3 hours, but it was like a melancholy mood, and there was there was nothing about the virus on the radar or anything like that. Nobody could have ever foreseen that coming. And I drove back from I stayed up at the Big Sur, and I drove out the next day in this sort of haze and the fog. Came down, filled up my gas tank at the bottom of the road, and I would never have dreamed that would have been the last time I would have seen live music. And I just ask you, have you always approached the live, I don't care if it's the FD and the Wizards, Skiffle, Beechwood, whatever, when you play music, have you always approached it like life and death, meaning this could be the last time I play, so I better give it my all? A lot of cats have said, I have no regrets because I've always approached it that way. And I just wonder, is there anything that you, it leads into the question of saying, is there something that did you take anything for granted about the live music experience before coronavirus?
In my own case, I would say I did not actually.
Now why not?
Well, being willing to die, again, maybe sounds heavy, but I've had that awareness, and I'm totally down to be present. And when you lose close friends, that changes your mind. So losing our friend Neil, which we always talk about, but that changed the lives of everyone around me. And we all said, we're going to stick together now. Like, we're going to look out for each other. And that's why my answer really, it's not so much that I'm going to have no regrets because I've played my guts out time and time again.
Yeah.
Right now, it's about really being so grateful and appreciative of the people in my life and the people I get to make music with. So shout out to everybody, and shout out to Brent and Curation Records for everything he's doing, Spiritual Pajamas, Brit and Folk Yeah, and there's others, Earth Star, my studio I work with, and all the bands
Earth Star, Volatus, Brother X.
Yeah, there's
Liberty Hair. I mean, and I think
that's right, Dan and those guys.
I love I feel humbled. I live in Tucson, and there's beautiful cats here, and I have some super tight friends, but there's I oftentimes say, people say, boy, you love music so much. I said, nah, I do, but I actually tend to get off more on the musicians than the music. And that regional pocket there is cooking the groove. And Farmer, this has been such a wonderful hang, and I hope we can do it again sooner than later, brother. And I wish you and Alan a safe and really inspirational trip back to whatever is left of Southern California.
Thank you. I left LA between two fires.
Yeah.
There was literally...
You drove through the...
Well, they weren't right at the highway, but they were on either side. Wow. So if I can, I have a song that hasn't been recorded yet, and I'll just sing a little bit of it for you.
Floor's yours.
Once in a lifetime, would you let it shine? One day these dreams my heart will come for you. Should you want to play this part, I live by my word now. Gonna make it happen, couldn't let it die. All day these dreams, my love, they come for you. If you want to live this tale, for you I'm a fighter. Sail on my rider, sail all the way. Thank you, everybody. Much love. You got family everywhere. People believe in you and love you on all sides. And may all hearts be free one day.
Neil Casal looking down on us as we conclude this episode of the Jake Feinberg Show. Thank you, Farmer. Bless you, brother.
Bye, everybody.
All right, we'll see you later.